So it's been a week since Ludum 33, so I thought I would do a little recap of the game that I helped to make and just give my explanation of, the process and how I feel about the final product while the air conditioners go off upstairs. So, here's my game. It's already got 10 votes, which is halfway to what I need, I think. So, I'll click on that. It's called Huntingman Championship. It says, warning, this entry may contain subject matter that you or those around you may find offensive. You have been warned. I understand. Let me see it. So if you don't like, if you're really sensitive to animal abuse, blood and gore, you might not want to watch this. It's 2D graphics, it's not that bad, but it's meant to be kind of disturbing, so let's see it. Let me read the description. A sport about killing the highest weight of animals. This game is a top-down, single-screen arena where the player moves around the environment looking for animals to kill. The animals will have AI that makes them run away from contact and the direction of damage. Animals will not always die from one hit, and there will be gore and real sound to make the experience horrifying. The player must drag the bodies back to the house by hand and will move slower depending on the weight of the bodies. Some weapons will cause the animal to lose weight from overkill. Better weapons can be found in the shop. Are you a monster? This is a 2D game in Construct 2. If you don't know Construct 2 is a game development program that does not require you to know any, let me just get that out of the screen a bit. Construct 2 does not require you to know any programming language. It's basically a fully graphical system, so you don't need to know the programming language, but Construct 2 is built on HTML5 or HTML4, and it's basically HTML and JavaScript and stuff. So it basically makes web games, although it can export to other formats. Anyway, that's Construct 2. You can get it for free. I had the paid version though. Anyway, continuing. The sounds are from open sources of real animal sounds and effects, but the graphics will be pixelated rather than realistic. The game should be playable with either the keyboard arrow keys and spacebar along with the mouse. I shouldn't say either. It can be played in a few minutes. Please leave feedback and a rating. Thank you. Programming, Alana Sophia O'Hare. Art, Ampara Conrad. So let's fire up the game. I could click this, but I'm going to click on the full screen. I'm going to get rid of myself. I'll see you soon. And click this link. Huntingman Championship. So that was a digitized version of my voice. You can see I have the shop screen is basically used as the title screen. So arrow keys to move. This is just a D-pad that I created, and mouse to aim and fire, and this is the mouse icon from Construct. So if I hit credits, it goes to the credit screen, which says a lot of the stuff that it already has on the Ludum 33 page, but it's pretty basic stuff. And I can press start the hunt. Okay, so I'm aiming with this crosshair, and I swing with the left stick. And basically just have to could also shoot with my right, which is good for far away things. But the rate of fire, this is like the beginning level, so the rate of fire is pretty slow. It's good to try to chase them towards the barn and away from the corners. Usually the bigger the animal is, the longer it takes to kill them. These chickens are a two-shot. It's hard not to hit the corpses on the ground as well. Actually takes away from the oh, I didn't get that. Give some quick kills. Oh, that's it. Time ran out. So now I have to drag these bodies back to the barn by putting my guy over the top of them. The mouse really doesn't matter for this part, and I left click, and that starts dragging them. You can see the more of these chickens I grab, the slower I move. And if I was to grab that cow, it would just stop completely because that's too much weight. So I can go back and grab some of these chickens, and then once I bring them over, they have to be inside the barn. I right click and they basically disappear and they're counted. I just keep putting my guy over like this cow and then the pig, and you can see how slow it moves with two of these larger animals. One of the graphics that wasn't designed by Ampara was the blood splatters that are left on the ground. That was kind of the last minute thing that I added, and I found that graphic online. It was supposed to be open source, or however you say it, but it had a white background, so I tried to get rid of that. It wasn't completely effective, but it's not too bad. I wanted this, there's no time limit here because there could be lots of animals, but I wanted this to feel like a long process. Okay, so now all the animals that were killed are in the barn. And this water also is a little wacky, but I just decided to leave it that way. I tried to tone it down a bit, but you can see it's still a little over the top. So now I have to go to the shop and press space. So I go in here, press space, and we go to the shop screen. Now this on top is just a visual representation. This is the wood club I start with and the bow. And when I click upgrade melee, it goes to the stone club. Now the stone club is basically just more damage. It's the same swinging speed, it just does more damage, so it's not that interesting. Upgrade again, this is as far as I can go, and I get this knife. The knife does more damage, but it also swings faster. It's a little bit small, but it's usually worth it just because of the increased swing rate, and you'll see that in a minute. For ranged, the bow is the worst, so I upgrade that, and I get the crossbow. The crossbow fires the same things, it just fires faster. So it's not a huge upgrade, it helps to kill things a little bit faster. Upgrade again, now I get the bolt action over here. This fires slowly, but it does a lot more damage, so I like that because you're doing more damage. But it fires about the same rate as the bow, but it's basically twice as effective. And that's all I can't upgrade any further, so then I go to the next stage. You can see the guy kind of closer now. Click on next stage, and now we're in the forest. Here comes a bear. So again, I'm going to use a strategy of trying to, like, well, there's a lot of bears. Stab them and push them towards the center. You can see it's a lot faster than the compared to the cows. Sometimes you can get a twofer. You do have to aim. Oh! See, I'm bumping them, I'm stabbing them, and you just get faster and faster. The bolt action, you can see, is one-shot kill for electronics. Whoop. The more I bump into them without hitting them, the faster they get through, which is not start one-shot killing stuff. Yeah, that's not great. Not as good as I thought. gonna practice this a lot though. Oh, I couldn't get that last deer. So it's the same story. I have to drag these animals into the tree, which is kind of like the tree house, I call it. And once again, like, there's a limit to how much you can carry at a time. Yeah, I think the drawback of that knife is the fact that it's smaller, so it can be hard to hit, especially if you're not aiming right. Like sometimes I forget I actually still have to aim, because the weapon follows your cursor, and you have to have the melee weapons have to be on top of the animal in order for it to hit. So, and this game isn't supposed to be that easy because it's not a game you can technically lose, so I wanted to make it a little more difficult to do well. And I don't know if that's going to be enough to get the final upgrades. We'll see. I didn't do very well that round, so once again I go to the shop and press space. And this resets back to the defaults, but I can still upgrade. I got the sword now, which swings slowly but does the most damage. And I got enough for the semi-auto rifle. So now I'm fully upgraded. This is as high as it could go anyway. Now I can enter the final stage, which is like the savannah. You can see I have zebras. And one is... Whoops. Whoops. So yeah, this sword will just decimate these smaller things, so the sword is a one-shot for those. You don't want to do it on the small things because it gives them... If something is overkilled, it's gone. Like, there's nothing left to collect, so... And it's hard to kill stuff near the edge because it's before you can get it. You gotta be careful with the sword. Oh, see, I keep killing those little ones because... Oh, it's gonna get away. There's actually a glitch where sometimes, if you bump into an animal too much, sometimes it starts pushing towards you for some reason, and that can get you stuck, because while the animals are alive, they can push you a bit, like they're solid, basically. So, there is a kind of a glitch where the animals can end up pushing you right to the edge, but if you press escape, it will go reset the game and go back to the main menu, so it is possible to restart, but it's too much. I haven't really fixed that issue where animals can push you off to the edge. I just figure that's kind of revenge or something. So one thing you didn't get to hear is the sound of the badger. The badger sounds kind of like... It sounds like a badger. These are all real sound effects, but because I was killing them instantly, I can't grab that one because it's like off the edge. Oh, there we go. 2 elephants is too much. You can't really... if you get all the upgraded weapons, you can't hear the sound of the badger because it dies instantly from one weapon and is completely destroyed from the other, so that's one of the drawbacks of getting all the upgrades, is that you can't hear the badger sound. But you can see it for yourself if you happen to not unlock the sword. You basically need a weaker weapon, like either the arrows or one of the smaller melee weapons than the sword. So this is about it. There's no sound. I didn't want to leave music because I don't know. Another thing I wanted to do, I can talk about the things I wanted to change after, because this is the end here. So you go into the shop, hit space, and now you get the final screen where it says name of the game. You see our guy here. I collected. This is the mass of the animals totaled up, which is pretty high, and 51 animals killed, which is also pretty high. These are pretty good scores. I've done slightly better, but this is pretty much what you can expect once you're really good at this game. Then all that's left to do is exit ... ellipsis. So this is the funny ending. There is no special ending, but you click exit, you see the tier. Huntingman Championship, and then you're back at the main screen. So yeah, that's kind of supposed to be a slightly humorous ending. As you can tell, the guy shed a tear, a very large tear, which is another graphic that I should say that was another graphic I got, an open source image I got from the internet, and shoved that in there. So that was another graphic that was kind of snagged at the last minute. And then you hear a gunshot, and the assumption is that he killed himself after what he did, but you don't really see anything, and doesn't say anything. So, you know, I just like to leave that up to people. So let me go to this screen. So that's the game. I think Ampara did a great job of creating the graphics very quickly. Basically, those graphics it churned out a lot of graphics really fast, and you saw each form of the animal had the healthy state, the damaged state, and the dead state. So that was a lot of graphics to make, and I think he did a good job getting those done. I had the game design idea, and it took us a while because we were going to do a different. We were going to do a Doom-based game where you play as a zombie, but unfortunately it's really hard to modify the Doom engine in a short period of time, and it was probably beyond both of our abilities at the time. So we decided to go with my game idea, which was this Huntingman Championship. Some of the things that I wanted to implement that didn't get implemented, we were going to do 2 more stages that would have added to the length of the game, but it was just basically going to be more of the same, so I don't know if that was really necessary. We're also going to have like secret weapons you can find, so we're going to have like large animals come out with basically a weapon strapped to them that you can only get if it kind of randomly pops up or something, and if you kill the animal you can get the weapon. And the big thing was like a chainsaw and maybe a fully auto rifle and stuff like that. You know, you can just use your imagination the type of weapons we might have implemented. Originally I had seen this more as a sport, so I imagined like the graphics, if I could have added more to it, maybe have like sort of a stadium around the outside or TV cameras, and I wanted the end screen to be sort of like a podium type of thing more than it was. Like the end screen is pretty sparse. I kind of wanted to seem sort of like Smash TV. Was kind of gonna be the inspiration, and the gameplay itself plays like the classic game Oregon Trail. There's like a hunting sequence in there, and I wanted it to be similar to that. But overall, I wanted there's a lot of hunting games out there, and I don't really feel like they make you feel like the gravity of what you're doing. I don't play them too much, but from what I've seen, it seems like they're very like trying to make it kind of cool, and I wanted to make a game that really like showed the gore, and like part of the dragging the bodies back was just, to make it seem more real. Like if you just go out and kill something, it doesn't magically go away, like you have to do something with the body, and you know, just to hear the sound of the animals reacting and the fact that they don't die instantly, all that type of stuff. You know, I wanted to make it, you know, a 2D game, but then would still bring the kind of horror of what you're doing. But some people play it and they just feel it's, you know, it's a fun game and it's kind of quirky. Other people play it and they get kind of disgusted by it. I think the second is kind of what I was going for, that I wanted you to feel like a monster as the player. And I think it works pretty well for that, but it's a little bit weird. I like using sound in my games, so getting the sound in there was a big part that I wanted to make sure I got, like, real sounds. And I guess I would have liked to have had more sounds, but due to time constraints and not wanting to make the game too bulky, we just went with one sound each. I also would have liked the animals to have flip when they change direction, because right now they're just kind of statically sliding across. You know, things like adding animations, more frames, all that stuff could have been added. It was just more time, and I felt like I invested enough time to get it done. And this is one of the first games I've ever done with someone, so I think it was a big help, because the first time I did this for Ludum 32, I felt like the graphics were the thing I struggled with the most, because I thought it would take a lot of time, and I don't have a lot of graphical skill, so the fact that I had somebody who is basically dedicated to doing the graphics definitely helped me focus on programming and getting the game working as best as I could. And overall, I think it works pretty well. It's not necessarily a fun game, but I've played it many times, and I still like to play it a bit. I don't know that I would really feel motivated to keep expanding it, because I have other projects I want to work on, but anyway, I'm going to leave a link to the game in the description, so if you've already made a game for this competition, you could say, for the game jam, you can rate it. If you haven't made a game, you can still play it. I'll leave a link to the actual game itself if you just want to play it. Yeah, and I just want to say thanks to my partner Ampera and the Tech Valley Game Space, who helped host the event, and hopefully I'll be around for the next game jam. Bye bye.